So I like going to fires. I love going to fires. Not only that, I love going to fires even more on an engine company. Something that I don't like is losing. I don't like to lose. Because with us, if we're losing, there's a high detriment there. That means that there's a potential that somebody was killed, somebody was hurt. So I came up with a framework to kind of keep myself in track on how to be successful, maintain that winning mindset, especially in how it pertains to the engine company work. I came up with the number 3. It's easier for my brain to keep track of. 3 variables are easy for me to manage. If you're on a truck company, you're probably only going to 2. So this is the 3 sets of a winning engine company. It starts with mindset. Why are you here? What is your ethos as an engine company? The engine company is the infantry as to the army. We have the solution, which is water. Our mindset should be that we're going to attack all fire aggressively to full extinguishment. If we're here on the engine, we know that we need to seek for craftsmanship in water application. So in my agency, we call the backstep firefighters, we call them hosemen. And for me, that implies that I need to be a craftsman in water application, hose manipulation, and suppression, just by title alone. So figure out your ethos. Them. Your water's for them. Your engine is for them. Everything you do is for them. I'm a kind of a CrossFit nerd, also a CrossFit Level 1 instructor, but there's a CrossFit athlete who's an ex-Navy SEAL, Josh Bridges. He has a saying, it says, pay the man, pay him, because rent is due. Every time you show up for work on the engine, remember, you're renting that engine from the people. That's their engine. Pay the rent. Go out and train. Remember why you are there. In the 1600s, the first paid engine company was established with the mindset that that engine was there for the people, that fire suppression was there to protect civilian lives, not just property, but lives. I think there's a little bit of a problem going on in the fire service right now where we have digressed from the basics of water application and what that means. It doesn't always mean that quick water to stop the destruction of property, but are we applying water in streams in a sense that we're increasing the survivability profile for a victim? Are we putting the hose lines in between the bad stuff and survivable space? Remember, you're here for them. Every hour that you're on the clock, that's theirs. You're paying them. The rent is due. So here's some numbers that I took. Most of them are from the Firefighter Rescue Survey that Justin McWilliams and Brian Olson run. That's a great page if you want to take some numbers about some of the statistics about rescues that are being made right now. So last year there's about 2,300 residential fire deaths, 3,000 in total in fire. 26.3% of victims are found by fire attack. Generally, it's the engine company that's going to be conducting fire attack. I think we all can agree on that. Another interesting fact, if you follow Bill Carey, who does a lot of really good things with collecting data, 0 line of duty deaths in 2017 advancing hose lines on the interior of a structure. So that fuels my fire even more. Why aren't we inside? If your plan A is exterior water application, now this isn't an avenue for me or the right setting for me to argue tactics with any of you, but I will say one thing. If your plan A is exterior water application, you are planning from the get-go to delay making the interior. That is the cold hard facts of exterior water application, if that's your plan A. And there's no benefit to say that it's the safer route because there's been 0 line of duty deaths advancing hose lines on the interior. So what I've done here is I've taken 26% of those 2,300 residential fire deaths, and I came up with a number that I can own as a member of an engine company. 606. 606 belong to us, belong to the engine company. Those are 606 people that we could do better. Right now, we're doing a better job of tracking some successes, thanks to Justin and Brian, but we're still tracking failures. So until this number is 0, I'm going to continue with my plan A being occupying the interior. Matt Adkins just reinforced my thought process because he just had a study about essentially running a customer satisfaction study, asking what their expectation of us is. And it further reaffirms the fact that they expect us to go inside and solve their problem. And one of my theories after listening to him earlier is that they expect us to solve their problem because they are picturing in their mind an engine company. An engine company has water. Water has to happen at every single fire. We can get away with not doing vertical ventilation at a fire. We can get away with maybe not having to force all the doors. We can get away with maybe not even shutting off utilities, but water application has to happen at every fire because there's a fire problem if we're getting called to a house fire. Our mindset should be default aggressive. Now that doesn't mean that you should be Leroy Jenkins through the front door with no mindset or thought to what you're doing. What default aggressive means to me is you're someone who conveys precision, someone who has been well trained, and who acts with assertiveness. The people who call you want you to be default aggressive. They need confident firemen. They need people to go find them. They don't need people to start exterior water application when their expectation of you is to go inside and find them. Matt just proved that. Granted, it was a small-scale study, but I think on a larger scale, we would find a common theme. Last I checked in America, most people take up occupancy inside the homes. They're generally not living in the front yard of their houses if they own a house. So they probably want you on the inside of that house. So this is a picture of Loretta Pickard. She is a victim of fire, most recently. A department that I'm not going to mention because I do not want to put them on blast, but this is a fire service failure. Why I chose Loretta is because the engine company failed her. The engine company was the first arriving unit. They didn't get off the rig with the mindset of being default aggressive. They didn't get off the engine with the mindset that there could be somebody inside. They took the defensive strategy without any thought process to it. That's a failure. The fire service has to own that failure. The engine company has to own that failure. Survivability profiling is an interesting thing to me. I don't think it holds a lot of validity at all, especially in the engine company setting. We have the solution to increase survivability profiles. It's water, okay? We should have no right to say that nobody can survive in there when we have water in the tank and we have hoses on the truck. If our open line creates survivable space, there's no need to do the survivability profiling thing. Okay? Let's take back the space. We'll create our own survivability profiling. I'm going to put every ounce of fire out and assume that I could find somebody tucked away in a closet, a bathroom, maybe a pocket inside the house under the stairs that we didn't take into consideration. So establish your mindset. Do it right by those 606. Do it right by Loretta. So the next time that there's somebody trapped inside, the engine goes to work for them, for her. Skill set. You owe it to them to be out there working on your skill set. Like I said, rent is due. Most of us work 24-hour periods, 48-hour periods, even 12 hours. In that time, you should be seeking to perfect your skill set. That's what they depend on you for. So training versus practice, there's differences between the two. Both of these are components that make up our skill set. So practice, that's how we actually establish neurological adaptations in what we do. Practice is when we're going to practice how we position the hose line. Are we going to be a hip grip? Are we going to be a Camella lock-off? Okay? That's a practice. It's taking those small skills to make sure our muscles and our neurological adaptations happen, so when we go do a training, which is the more global perspective, we're able to do those things more efficiently. Training is saying, hey guys, we're going to run a drill. We're going to have, let's call it, hey, the house is 25 foot setback. We're going to go in. Someone's going to force the door. We're going to move in 5 feet. We're going to hit. We're going to move. And then we're going to push that last 5 feet. That's a training. Everything comes together. We need both of those to establish our skill set. Success is what happens after you have survived all of your mistakes. We should be making those mistakes in the training setting so that we're not making those mistakes when the seconds count. Not saying that mistakes don't happen on the fire ground. That'd be ignorant of me to say. But we should be out there training and practicing to reduce those variables of failure, because that's what they expect of you. Make stretches, not excuses. There's a couple pictures here of us stretching in our first due area. There's been a little controversy, at least with our fire department. People start to ask questions. Maybe we think this is silly. But I'll tell you that we've had the most positive public interaction by stretching hose lines to the front of people's doors unexpectedly than you would think. When both these stretches here, late afternoon, late evening, stretch the line to someone's front door, they hear the ruckus outside, open the door and say, what are you guys doing? We're making sure that if your house catches fire or your apartment catches fire, we have a plan and we can reach you. Every single time they say thank you. This is the minimum expectation that they have of you. Practice in your first due. That's your neighborhood. Own it. Own that pavement. Own the asphalt. Own all of that real estate. Another CrossFit reference here. Sorry to go CrossFit bro on you all, but virtuosity. If you take the CrossFit Level 1 instructor course, they talk about virtuosity. If you want to talk about something that has skill acquisition figured out and coaching figured out, take the CrossFit Level 1 instructor course. Virtuosity means doing the common uncommonly well, or the quality of being extremely skilled at something. We should be hunting for this every time we are at work. Perfection may not be achievable, doesn't mean we shouldn't be hunting for it. Getting set. Getting set starts at the rig. Sometimes there's things that we can do that are in our control. Sometimes there aren't. Sometimes we're drawn the short card and we're stuck with a less than desirable apparatus spec. If that is the case, wait till the next apparatus committee opens up, get on there so you can get the rig set. Dennis Laguerre, if you haven't seen or heard or read any of his stuff, he'll say this time and time again. Spec and layout dictate fireground tactics. If you're laying out your rig to not be functional, you are taking back seconds from them that aren't your right to take. If you are drawing the short card and you do have a crappy apparatus spec, you have better be dialing in your skill set to make up that lost time. So get on that apparatus committee. Figure out what's efficient. Take the time. Step off the rig hundreds of times to figure out how's the most efficient way to lay out steps. Are the seats correct? Are we going to be wasting too much time with the seat belt in this configuration? He's also done a lot of work with hose and nozzles, simplicity. We should all seek to simplify our fireground operations and reduce variables of failure, not only through us, but also through our equipment. We should be figuring out how to deliver the most amount of water possible with the least amount of people in the most practical systems. Now, if your hose bed looks like this, you're taking time. That's a cold hard fact. If you spec a hose bed that looks like this, if you've added extra ladders just to get hose off the rig, you've missed the target. Leave those extra ladders to the truck company. They can always use another ladder for something. Shopping or getting cookies or whatever it is they do. I don't know. This is a winning engine company. This is Baltimore Engine 8. Jobtown, if you guys follow them. There's lots of little pictures of simplicity and efficiency in this picture. If you notice here, the nets, they're quick release, they fall down, so you're not having to throw the net up to grab hose. Little things like that. Everything is stacked low. Everything is easily accessed, and they have different hose for their first due area. Spec and layout matter. Take the time to get involved if you can. If not, if you're stuck with the high hose beds, if you're stuck with a lot of stuff that makes sense, dial in your skill set. Figure out a workaround. It's also the little things to get set. Are you pre-tightening your mast straps? Are you pre-taping everything? Make it so that you only have to pull one mast strap when you go to get masked up. If you're already slow at masking up, this is going to take back time. You're going to give them more time. Like I said, it's not your right to be shitty at your job and take away time from them. Setting up your gear. Set up your gear outside of the engine. Again, we're not going to get into the discussion of clean cabs or where they fit in the fire service here, but the cold hard fact is, if you are storing your gear in a compartment, you're increasing steps just to get out the door. Earlier this morning, Chief Mo Davis wanted us to hold our breath while he talked to us about a couple things. I can't imagine holding my breath just for someone to get their stuff on. Set your gear so you can get on fast. Set your mask up. And with the last thing, take some time to get set by learning from the masters of engine work. This is a picture of Jeff Shoup. I've been fortunate enough to receive some mentorship from him. This is him teaching in my backyard, essentially my neighborhood fire department. But the thing about these guys, the masters of engine work, they're not going to be around forever. It's up to you to go out and seek out some of that information when it comes to engine company operations. Aaron Fields, Brian Brush, Dennis Laguerre, Jay Comella, Daryl Liggins, just to name a few. There's a lot out there. It's not your right not to figure out how to go seek out this training. Rent is due. You have to pay up. You have to go and get that information. As Ray McCormick says, keep fire in your life. Thank you.